Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Glad to be here.
Today we're going to be getting into some really fascinating stuff about the power of words
Yeah.
and how they can really impact our lives. And we're going to be looking at excerpts from Cultivating Your Future, The Power of Words
Okay.
by Teru Nakashima, who is like a self-affirmation expert.
Interesting.
And he's got some pretty cool ideas about how we can use language to really cultivate a more like positive
Right.
and fulfilling life. So if you're into like self-improvement and personal growth, you're really going to want to pay attention.
Absolutely. This is going to be good.
Yeah, because we're going to be pulling out some seriously actionable insights.
Yeah, what I find really fascinating about Nakashima's work is how he takes like these kind of complex ideas
Right.
and breaks them down into these really digestible
Yeah.
metaphors and analogies. Like he doesn't just tell you to
Right.
think positive. He actually gives you like a framework for understanding why that's important
Yeah.
and how to actually do it.
Okay. I'm intrigued. So tell me more about this framework. Like, what's he talking about?
So one of the most powerful metaphors he uses is this idea of like words as seeds.
Okay.
And he suggests that the words we use,
Mm-hmm.
both spoken and unspoken, are like seeds that we're planting in the garden of our minds.
So like if we're constantly like, beating ourselves up with negative self-talk,
Yeah.
we're basically just cultivating like a garden full of weeds.
Exactly. It's like every negative thought is like a weed that takes root
Oh, wow.
and starts to choke out the positive thoughts that could be flourishing there instead.
And then that can like become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It can lead to those feelings of like inadequacy,
Yeah.
limiting beliefs, and it ultimately hinders our growth.
Yeah, for sure.
But the good news is the opposite is also true.
Okay.
When we choose to plant those positive words
Yeah.
and cultivate that encouraging self-talk, we create this fertile ground for confidence and hope and personal growth.
I'm starting to get, like, I'm seeing the potential here, but it also feels like a lot of responsibility. Like, if our words are that powerful,
Right.
how do we make sure that we're planting the right seeds?
That's where Nakashima introduces this really cool concept of the six senses tree.
Okay.
And it acts as a guide for cultivating different aspects of self-affirmation.
Okay.
He compares like these six key senses: self-esteem, self-acceptance, self-efficacies, self-confidence, self-determination.
Wow, it's a lot of selves.
It is, right?
Okay.
And self-worth to different parts of a tree.
Okay, I am picturing a tree right now.
Good.
So let's break down this analogy.
Sure.
What part of the tree is like self-esteem?
Well, the roots, of course,
Makes sense.
right? Self-esteem is the foundation.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of being worthy of existence.
Yeah.
And Nakashima says that without strong roots, the whole tree is unstable.
Right.
Think about it.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in your inherent worth,
Yeah.
it's hard to build anything substantial on top of that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
So then what about the trunk?
The trunk symbolizes self-acceptance.
Bro.
It's about embracing all parts of ourselves, flaws, and all
Right.
recognizing that, those imperfections actually contribute to our uniqueness.
Yeah.
We're not aiming for some unattainable ideal of perfection,
Right.
but rather accepting ourselves as we are with all our quirks and complexities.
It's about allowing ourselves to be human,
Yes.
not getting caught up in this constant pursuit of being perfect.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then branching out from the trunk, we have self-efficacy.
Oh, okay.
And this represents our belief in our abilities
Mm-hmm.
to achieve goals and navigate challenges.
Right.
Strong branches allow us to reach out in new directions, to explore new possibilities without being held back by self-doubt.
So self-efficacy is all about feeling capable.
Yes.
Like confident in our ability to handle whatever life throws our way.
Exactly.
I like that. What about the leaves? What do they symbolize?
The leaves are an interesting one. They represent self-confidence,
Okay.
the outward expression of our inner belief in ourselves. Think of it this way. Self-confidence allows us to breathe in the energy of self-belief and thrive.
Oh, okay.
Just as leaves are vital for a tree to absorb sunlight and grow,
Right.
self-confidence is crucial for us to embrace challenges and achieve our full potential.
So without self-confidence, we're basically stifling our own growth.
You got it.
Like we're not allowing ourselves to blossom.
Exactly.
And then moving on, we have the flowers. What do they represent?
The flowers are self-determination.
Okay.
They represent the beauty of choice and agency.
Mm-hmm.
It's recognizing that we have the power to make decisions
Okay.
and shape our own destiny, rather than feeling like we're at the mercy of external forces.
That reminds me of that quote, "The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be."
I love that one.
Yeah, it's empowering to think that we have that much control.
Absolutely.
So what's left? The fruit.
Yes, the fruit symbolizes self-worth.
Okay.
It's the fulfillment that comes from contributing to something larger than ourselves,
Right.
making a difference in the world.
Yeah.
It's the sweet reward of a life well lived, knowing that we've made a positive impact.
This whole six senses tree analogy is really resonating with me.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, like, if we're cultivating this tree with our words, what does that actually look like in practice?
Right.
How do we make sure we're nurturing it properly?
That's where Nakashima's concept of reframing comes in.
Okay.
It's about consciously shifting the perspective, like embedded in the language we use. Imagine changing the frame around a picture.
Uh-huh.
You're not altering the image itself,
Right.
but you're highlighting different aspects. You're bringing certain elements into focus.
So instead of seeing a setback as a failure, we can reframe it as a learning opportunity.
Exactly.
Like, we're not denying the challenge,
Right.
but we're choosing to see the potential for growth.
Precisely. And Nakashima gives some really practical examples of this reframing in action.
Right.
Like, for instance, instead of saying, I'm worthless,
Yeah.
which can be a really common negative thought pattern,
Yeah.
we can reframe it as, I'm on a journey of growth,
Okay.
and I'm learning every step of the way.
Yeah.
It's a subtle shift in language,
Yeah.
but it can have a profound impact on our self-perception.
Yeah, it's like we're rewriting the script,
Yes.
changing the narrative from one of self-defeat to one of resilience and progress.
Exactly.
I'm curious, though, is there like any scientific evidence to support this idea that reframing actually works?
Absolutely. There's been research done at Stanford University
Oh, wow.
that shows that reframing negative thoughts can actually reduce activity in the amygdala,
Okay.
which is the part of the brain that's associated with like fear and stress.
Uh-huh.
So when we shift our perspective to a more positive one,
Yeah.
our brain actually responds by releasing endorphins and dopamine,
Wow.
which have those mood-boosting and pain-relieving effects.
So it's not just about feeling better temporarily. It's
Right.
actually changing the way our brains function over time.
Exactly.
That's pretty incredible.
It is. And what's even more encouraging is that Nakashima doesn't just leave us with these concepts.
Right.
He actually offers 4 very practical tips
Okay.
for how we can actively cultivate our own positive word garden.
Okay. I am all ears. Give me the tools. What's the first tip?
He calls the first one the morning affirmation ritual.
Okay.
And this is all about starting the day with intention,
Uh-huh.
setting a positive tone for the hours ahead.
Right.
Nakashima suggests taking a few moments each morning to recite affirmations.
Affirmations like those I am strong, I am capable kind of statements.
Exactly.
Okay.
It might feel a bit strange at first,
Yeah.
but with consistency, our brains begin to internalize these causative messages.
Right.
And they start to shape our thoughts and behaviors throughout the day.
So it's like we're priming our minds for a more positive and productive day.
Exactly.
What's the next step?
The next one is cultivating a gratitude practice.
Okay.
It's about making a conscious effort to appreciate the good things in our lives, even the small ones. So often we get caught up in the daily grind
Right.
and we forget to acknowledge the simple joys.
I am definitely guilty of that.
Yeah,
I get so focused on what's not going right that I forget to appreciate all the things that are.
it happens to the best of us.
So how does Nakashima suggest we practice gratitude?
He suggests infusing thank you into our everyday experiences.
Okay.
So instead of just rushing through our day on autopilot,
Yeah.
we can pause and genuinely express gratitude
Right.
for things like a delicious meal or a helpful coworker,
Uh-huh.
or even just the opportunity to learn and grow.
I love that it's like a little reminder throughout the day to focus on the good.
Yes.
What's the third tip?
Tip number 3 is all about shifting from can't to can.
Okay.
It's about challenging those negative self-talk patterns that hold us back.
Right.
Instead of focusing on our limitations,
Yeah.
Nakashima encourages us to focus on what is possible.
So instead of saying, I can't learn a new language,
Right.
I could reframe it as, I'm learning Spanish and I'm getting better every day.
Exactly. It's about shifting our mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance,
Uh-huh.
from limitation to possibility.
Right.
What's the difference between saying, I can't afford to travel
Yeah.
versus I'm saving up for a trip to Italy?
Oh, I see.
A subtle shift in language.
Right.
But it can have a big impact on our motivation and our actions.
It's like we're training our brains to look for solutions instead of dwelling on problems.
Exactly.
I like that. What's the final tip?
The final tip is one of the most powerful.
Okay.
He calls it rewriting past narratives. We often carry around stories about our past
Right.
that are based on negative interpretations or limiting beliefs.
So if I have a memory of a time I failed a test in school,
Yeah,
I might still tell myself I'm not smart enough, even though that was years ago.
that's right. But with reframing, we can choose to see that past event from a different perspective.
Okay.
We can acknowledge the disappointment,
Uh-huh.
but also recognize the lessons learned
Right?
and the resilience we developed as a result.
Yeah.
It's not about erasing the past,
Right.
but about changing the way we view it
Uh-huh.
and how it impacts our present.
That's really powerful. It's like we're giving ourselves permission to let go of the old story
Yeah,
and write a new one that's more empowering and supportive of our current goals.
exactly.
You know, all this talk about reframing reminds me of a time when I was working on this big project
Oh, yeah.
and I hit a major wall.
I can relate to that. We all hit those walls sometimes, whatever.
Well, I was feeling incredibly overwhelmed
Yeah.
and I was starting to tell myself, I can't do this. This is too much. I was
Right.
about ready to give up.
Mm-hmm.
But then I remembered Nakashima's advice about reframing.
Okay.
So instead of focusing on the enormity of the task,
Yeah.
I broke it down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Okay.
And I started telling myself, I can handle this one step at a time.
And how did that work for you?
It's amazing how such a simple shift in perspective can change everything.
Yeah.
As soon as I started focusing on what I could do instead of what I couldn't,
Right.
the project felt much less daunting. I was able to make progress, and eventually I completed it successfully.
That's great.
It was a great reminder that our words really do have the power to shape our reality.
That's a fantastic example of the power of reframing in action.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we have more control over our thoughts and our reality than we often realize.
Absolutely. It all comes back to that idea of being the authors of our own stories.
Yes.
We get to choose the words we use to write those stories.
Yeah. And like the words we choose, they can either build us up or tear us down.
Right.
They can create a story of limitation and fear, or a story of growth and resilience and possibility.
That's such a good point. We're not just passive bystanders in our own lives.
Right.
We actually have the power to choose the words that will shape our thoughts, our emotions, and ultimately our reality. It's empowering to think that we can actually rewrite our stories,
It is.
even if we've been stuck in a negative loop for a while.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's never too late to start changing the way we talk to ourselves and about ourselves.
Okay.
And, cultivating your word garden, it's an ongoing process.
Right.
It's not about achieving some perfect state of positivity all the time,
Yeah.
but rather about developing that conscious awareness of the language we use
Okay.
and making intentional choices that support our well-being.
So it's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the power of words,
Okay.
I want to leave you with one final thought from Nakashima that I find incredibly encouraging.
Okay.
He writes, "Even on the darkest night, remember, tomorrow a new morning will come."
That's beautiful.
It is.
It's a reminder that even when things feel challenging or overwhelming, there's always hope.
There it is.
There's always a chance to start fresh.
Yes.
To choose our words more wisely. And to continue cultivating our own personal growth.
I hope this exploration of Nakashima's work has given you some valuable insights
Yeah.
and practical tools to take with you on your own self-affirmation journey.
Me too. And if you're interested in diving deeper into these concepts, we highly recommend checking out his full book,
Absolutely.
Cultivating Your Future, The Power of Words. It's full of wisdom and actionable advice that can help you create a more positive and fulfilling life.
And be sure to join us next time for another deep dive
Yes.
as we explore a completely different topic.
Okay.
We'll be taking a closer look at the fascinating world of briefly tease next episode's content without revealing specifics.
So stay tuned for more thought-provoking discussions.
Yes.
And remember, the power to shape your future lies within the words you choose.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.